So this is all about, the idea that we can actually build innovative companies out of the Middle East. People think that this is purely a copycat region, and that's not the case. And we're going to discuss, and I'm going to tell you about Myki. Antoine's going to share his experience. So just over a casual conversation, then we're going to have a demonstration of Myki, the cybersecurity product that Antoine has built. So one of the interesting things about this company is actually the story about how it got created. So Antoine, you want to walk us through how Myki started?
Yeah, sure. So it started in 2014. My co-founder Priscilla's grandmother has Alzheimer's. So she couldn't remember her passwords to talk with her son in Houston, Texas. And she used to call her on a daily basis. So my co-founder's grandmother had Alzheimer's. And she couldn't remember her passwords, so she had to call her down every day to log her into Skype so that she could initiate the call and talk to him. So one day we were sitting and she told me the story, and I came back with a USB device that her grandmother plugs into the computer. It automatically logs her into Skype and initiates the call to her son. So this is how we started initially, and with time the concept evolved. And we are now at a stage where we are completely replacing passwords in the enterprise. So passwords are great, but us humans don't know how to use them. So we tend to use the same password or weak variations of the same password, which puts us and our companies at risk. So what Myki does, our product, it's a mobile app that employees in a company download to their phones. And whenever they want to log into, let's say, their email account, instead of typing a username and password, they receive a notification on their smartphone. They swipe, say yes, and put their fingerprint to authenticate themselves, and the Myki app on the phone logs them into the computer.
So when we first met Antoine, he had the hardware device that he built, and he's now built it into actually a fully fledged technology product. But I want Antoine to give us an idea of his background and what makes him interested in this particular area of technology.
So personally, I'm a computer engineer. Before that, I used to be like a hacker at school. So I hacked into government websites and things like that, and then contacted them afterwards to mitigate the problem. After studying computer engineering, I went into security and worked here at Symantec in data loss prevention. And this is where the start of the idea came, because big companies like Symantec, like IBM, these sort of huge companies have identity solutions. But they're old, they rely on old software, and they don't adapt very well to the internet these days. And this is like, it's a combination of things. It's Priscilla's story, my side of the story that came together to get us to build Myki.
Which you built by yourself and with one more sort of engineer.
Yeah, initially Raja and I were the technical part of the team. We built the initial concept, and this is the concept that we pitched to Amir and Danny 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's happened since for Myki is that they got selected to TechCrunch Disrupt in San Francisco to be part of the Battlefield demonstrations, where they were one of 25,000 companies that were selected globally, and and so my question to Antoine is: given that you were in the Valley, why would you not build this company out there, and why would you build it out of the Middle East?
So initially, when we started, the dream was to get to San Francisco, build this huge company, get everyone on board, and go to the next thing. But we noticed that the market here is a great market for identity. It's $1 billion market that's basically untapped. Plus, the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem is growing exponentially, and we're able to find everything that we need here. So people are committed, investors are dedicated, everything is working out for us. And with time passing, we see less and less the value of us completely moving to the United States. And we understand the value of having a sales office there, presence there, but we now want to keep the bulk of the company here in the region because we think that we'll be able to build a global company from here.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to let Antoine just walk you through the technology. It's very impressive for those of you who are interested in this space. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. I'm working in a company and I want to access my accounts. Usually, let's say I want to access my company email. The way I do it is I go to Google for work and I type my username and password. With Myki, instead of doing that, I just ask it to send the password to my phone. Sorry, I don't seem to have internet on my phone. Okay, so what usually happens is I receive a notification on my phone and I accept the login request from here and Myki fills my username and password. So that's what I see as a user. It's completely transparent to me. The login, the username and password are completely transparent. I can share access with my colleagues without sharing my username and password so that they can access my account without them seeing the password. But the power of Myki is in the back end. So it's the portal of Myki which gives the management team full visibility and control over users' accounts. So the portal allows you to see geographically in real time where users are accessing their accounts from. And for every account, for every access, I can ping the user's device to know if it's on. Obviously, this one's not on. And I can log the user out of his computer from here. So I have full visibility and control over what the user does. Now let's say that one of my employees leaves my company. Usually it's a big problem because he has access to so many different things and I don't know how to stop completely the access. And 86% of the time, this employee ends up creating for me a problem somewhere down the line by stealing information or sharing information, etc. So I can revoke his access with a click of a button from the portal and he won't be able to access the account again. Now, if you want to go into more detail into when, how, and where a user can access a specific account from, let's look at this Google account. I can add, for example, a location-based rule, which allows me to geographically select where this user can access his account from. So, after hitting the save button, the user can only access his company's email from within this building. If he leaves this building, he'll be logged out, and if he tries to log in from outside the building, he won't be allowed access. I can do the same thing from a time-based perspective, so I can give him access from Monday to Thursday, from Sunday to Thursday here actually, between 8 a.m. and let's say 8 p.m. Same thing, if he tries to access his account from outside this time slot, he won't be able to access the account. And I can also do the same thing for IP-based rules. So if you're interested in restricting, for example, the floor in your building where an employee can access a specific account from, you can do it. So everything that I showed you also works for groups. So I can manage my groups. Let's say my marketing team needs to have their Google account, their Twitter account, and their Pinterest account shared between them. I can push the account from here to these members, and I can set rules on the accounts. So the associate can only access the financial software from within the building, whereas the manager or the partner can access the software from his house and the office. So you get full visibility and control over these sorts of things. And what we also have is an automatic password changer. So usually, you're advised to change your passwords every 30 to 90 days. So you should change your passwords into strong alphanumerical combinations that have nothing to do with old versions of the password. And that's very difficult to do because we tend to forget them. So either we use the same variation of the password or we use a completely different password and write it down in a post-it note, which is not that good from a security point of view. So let's take GitHub, for example, which all of our developers use to store their code, our code, which is our intellectual property. So I can set a schedule for password changes from here. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 a.m. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 a.m., all of the passwords of my team, of their GitHub account, gets changed in the background. So they wake up to a new set of passwords that they can use for the next day. It's completely transparent for the end user, and it ensures that they're secure at all times. So to summarize things, so from a user point of view, it's completely transparent. You want to access an account, you swipe on a notification on your phone, that's it. You don't see password, you don't have to change password, you don't have to think in terms of usernames and passwords anymore. From a management perspective, you get full visibility and control into the behavior of your team. So you understand when, where, and how they access specific accounts, and you can set rules to control all of these things. That's it. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Okay. Oh, thank you for asking me.
Well, I can just maybe try to shout. What's the backup mechanism? What if we lose the
Device. So we do regular backups on another trusted device. It's the computer in this case. So if I want a computer company and my phone, we do regular backups from the phone to the computer so you can back up. But if as a company you don't feel comfortable doing backups on users' devices, we have a small server that you can set up in-house, and whenever the user logs into the Wi-Fi of the company, for example, it backs up the data to this server. But it's very important to note that we never use the cloud to store the sensitive information, and we're one of the only companies, if not the only company in the world, that doesn't use the cloud because we don't trust it. So sensitive information like passwords are stored across users' devices and in backups like their laptops and in-house on-premise instead of using a public cloud online.
But if you're traveling and you're away from the base.
Yes. Okay, so when you travel, that's where it becomes very useful because traditionally in a big company, you have lockdowns on your account.
What was the question?
So if you're traveling, how do you manage to do these things if you're off base? So traditionally, if you're working at a big company, you have lockdowns on your accounts, and it's very complicated to take it out for when someone travels. So the usual scenario is you travel, you have a problem logging in, then you try to contact IT. Whenever IT gets around and answers you, either sets you up with a VPN to log in or does a weird, funky thing that. So with Myki, it's completely different. So from the portal, you're a direct manager, you're not talking about IT here, accesses the Myki portal and sets a location-based rule for wherever you're at, and it will give you full control. And if it needs to set up a VPN to talk in-house, it will do it automatically. So for you as a user, you shouldn't have a problem, but in case you have, you just need to send a message to your manager and he'll fix it in less than 2 minutes. That's opposed to, usually it's 6 hours, that's what we found out, the get around from between the time where you contact your IT and he comes back when you're away.
So your customer care and support functions.
So we're launching this week, so we're launching actually on Monday. What we're thinking of doing is we have a 2-person technical support team initially that's going to carry out everything that's related to Tier 1 and Tier 2 customer support. Tier 3, which is more complicated matters, real problems, we'll fix ourselves. And with time, we think that we're going to follow a SaaS model, very traditional in this sense of Any other question? Great. Thank you.